So today is day one of the reading rush. I have a few things planned. So the first is reading two stories in Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. There are, I think, 9 stories in here, so if I read like 2 a day, I will finish it before the end of the week, which is good. And then because Life of Pi seems to be the longest of the books, I know that the fantasy book has more pages, but this one seems longer. So I'm going to start Life of Pi and read at least 100 pages. I'm actually aiming for 150 pages. And yeah, so I'm going to go to a cafe. I'm going to grab a chai latte, despite it being a gazillion degrees outside, and start reading. I might actually go to campus. I will vlog my experience every single day as I have in the past, and I will link my TBR below. Happy reading! I'm boiling alive here. It is so hot. And yeah, I definitely need a haircut. Okay, well, maybe tomorrow. Okay, I made it. I am so hot. I think I've sweated through my shirt. It's crazy. Alright, well, I'm here. There's air conditioning in this library, so back to Interpreter of Maladies. Okay, so I've just finished the first 2 stories in Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. The first story is called A Temporary Matter, and it's about a husband and a wife who are they're becoming estranged from one another, But then they get this opportunity at night to exchange secrets that they have never told one another. The reason being that the electric company has to work on the power for an entire week, and so instead of having one day where people have no power, they've decided to only shut off power for 1 hour every night. And so that is the time when this couple exchange stories. And one of the things that I've liked in this story, and actually the second one as well, is how relatable the cultural elements are, because I grew up eating rice with bay leaves and cardamom seeds, just like the characters in these stories. And even though I am not very familiar with Indian culture because of my own family history, it's just interesting to encounter elements that I take for granted, things from, just the way that they communicate with each other, food, just dietary preferences. And what I also like is that many of the characters are familiar with India to varying degrees. So some are just recent immigrants to the United States, and some are first-generation Americans who were born in the United States and have only been to India maybe once and don't even remember it. Those are the ones that I relate to the most, because that's basically my story. So I just really liked that. And also, I tend to not always have the best experience with short stories because I just, don't understand what the point is. But the first two stories, I feel like they were very satisfying. And if this continues, this would be my favorite short story collection, so I hope it does. The second story is called When Mr. Perzada Came to Dine, and it's about the Pakistan. There's a civil war in Pakistan between the East and the West. Mr. Perzada is from Eastern Pakistan, and the East is trying to gain independence from the Western Pakistani regime. But during this time, he has left his wife and his 7 daughters, who all have very similar sounding names, or at least all their names begin with the letter A, so he finds it very difficult to keep track of all of his daughters' names. But he's in the United States because he's a botanist. A lot of the characters in this book are either graduate students or professors, and so he is working on his own research in the United States while his wife and his daughters are living in a civil war, and he's constantly concerned about them. The story is told from the perspective of the daughter of an Indian American family who has taken in somewhat. They invite this professor to their house, and this is how she learns about the Civil War, because she doesn't learn about it in school. Basically, what ends up, the history is that Eastern Pakistan wanted to be independent from Western Pakistan. There were all these refugees who came into India, and then India called a war on Pakistan, and then Pakistan eventually surrendered the eastern part of Pakistan, and that region becomes Bangladesh. It is a history that I'm not familiar with either, so that was really nice to see that in the story. And like I said, both of them are really great. So this has been a really great start to the reading rush. So now I'm off to reading Life of Pi by Jan Martel. Okay, so I read till page 80. I will probably read about 10 or 20 more pages before I call it a night. But Life of Pi has been interesting. It's definitely a page turner, and I'm enjoying it. I must admit, slightly concerned about how the various religions that are mentioned in this book are going to play out in this story. What role do they play? Currently, there's this kind of, I don't know, new agey vibe to this book where it's like all the religions are the same, and there's this kind of romanticization of religion that I always have an issue with. However, it does seem like Martel has done his research, because at least with the very small amount of knowledge that I have of Hinduism, I felt that it was quite well researched. I think that perhaps with Islam as well. So in the beginning of the book, in the preface, the author pretends, this is probably not true, right? This is the frame narrative. The author pretends that he was in India writing a book on Portugal. It was some historical fiction, and he meets a man who tells him to meet another man in India who has a really good story for him. And this man's name is Piscine Patel. Yes, piscine, if you know French, pool, swimming pool. But because everyone kept making fun of his name, mispronouncing his name, he calls himself Pi. Pi grows up in a zoo, basically, because his father runs this zoo in Pondicherry, which was a former French colony. And yeah, so he's the son of a zookeeper, and so he's constantly making analogies to animals. But he's also incredibly spiritual. What we come to learn is that in the beginning of the book is that Pi studied both zoology and religion. So that's an interesting mix. I studied both biology and French, and currently work on religious history. So I think that's very interesting. I like to see the mix. And so far, whenever animals are being discussed here, they're not romanticized, so I'm hopeful that there will be some depth in this book. But yeah, we aren't stranded at sea yet, so I really don't know where the story's going to go. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, a little bit cautious, but I'm hoping that this will end well, and then I will watch the film adaptation when I'm done. So, thank you for watching. Day 1 really went well. I have definitely read over 100 pages, and I think that that is a good first day of a reading rush. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.